I am Gabrielle, and this is The Invisible, my podcast about everything that is shaping our lives, but that we cannot always see. We can't grasp it with our mind, and yet we can feel it strongly. The inherited patterns, the protective layers, the invisible forces that influence our choices, relationship, our health, work, and the way we move through life. My intention with this podcast is to bring consciousness to those invisible layers so that what has remained hidden can finally become visible. Before we begin, you will find the free integration practice in the show notes. It's a beautiful combination of sound, healing, tapping, and subconscious reprogramming, designed to help you integrate what we explore together today during the podcast. I have also been receiving so many requests for more sound practices, and I promise there are more to come. If you're standing at the edge of a big life transition, whether that is moving countries, changing careers, ending a relationship, starting one, or simply feeling that life is asking something new of you, you don't have to go through this alone. You can work with me inside of Essential Care, my 6 months one-on-one container, through the root sessions. If you have a specific team, you will find all the information and the links in the show notes. But now let's begin. I have received many questions recently, both from my clients and on Instagram as well, about my experience of moving from France to Mallorca almost 6 years ago now. It seems that many of you are thinking about moving countries yourself, and with that come all the doubts, the fears, the invisible strings that seems to hold you back. So today I wanted to share with you my story. Not because I think that everybody should move abroad, not at all, and certainly not because I think moving country, and not because I think that moving country can be an answer. It's actually quite the opposite. For me, changing country doesn't change you, but it gives the opportunity to meet yourself. And this is what I want to address today. And I think it's one of the biggest misunderstandings we have when we dream about starting over somewhere else. A new place doesn't guarantee a new life, but it becomes an extraordinary place for transformation, for meeting new layers of yourself. So it's exactly what happened to me. I lived in Paris many years. I'm French. I was working in fashion. I really realized a dream there. It was absolutely fantastic in my 20s. It was creative, stimulating, exciting, so glamorous as well. Well, I have many souvenirs and many experiences I will share with you. But I'll come to that later. But in my 30s, it was kind of like the end of this love story. And I managed to leave Paris several times. I went to live shortly in New Zealand. I lived in India, where I had a brand, where I developed a brand called Fabric Hunted and Collected. It was a treasure hunt for fabrics. I'm passionate with fabrics, and India is definitely the mecca for that. Both experiences were absolutely transformative. But somehow life always brought me back to Paris and to fashion. And it came to a point where it felt like I had a subconscious contract with that city. Like every time I left, I came back. Every time I tried something different, fashion was calling me back. And, there were beautiful opportunities, amazing salaries, great position, interesting project. From the outside, it's not that from the outside, even from inside, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. For my mind, 1 + 1 = 2. Yeah, I should do that. And I did it. And it's like when you need to go through your story, you need to go through until the end. And with fashion, I really went to the end of it. Paris was definitely a wonderful chapter of my life. I mean, I really love Paris. I haven't been in a while though. Really planning of going this summer for those incredible art exhibitions. Coming back to my story, Paris was magical and wonderful, but in my 30s, it totally shifted. I think I was done with it, but I could not find the way out. And you know how life can be so aligned and really showing you the way. It was really showing me the way out, but I could not find the door, you know? So it became quite toxic. Fashion became really abusive. Some behaviors I saw and I participated to were accepted as normal in that world. And it was no longer aligned with my values. I had to leave. And every time I tried, life seemed to bring me back there. Anyhow, long story short, COVID hit Paris March 2020. At the time it was my last contract. I really, really enjoyed it. It was at Maison Kitsune. I was developing the textile over there. I really, really genuinely enjoyed it. And like so many of you, so many people, I suddenly found myself working from home and working only morning during the first lockdown. And for the first time in years, I had time to reflect. And I remember very quickly within the first week, I was like, oh my God, this is the best opportunity for me to find and to use this time to manifest my work. These were my words. This was really like what I was looking for deeply, a place where I could build my life and my roots. So I started researching. I started also interviewing people who had completely changed their life. People living in Bali, Portugal, in the States, different parts of Europe. And I was not really asking them where I should move, but I wanted to understand what happened inside of them. You know, what was really the leap, the trigger, how they had found the courage, what had changed for them, you know, what they had learned, why they stayed, you know, how was their experience. And every conversation was so inspiring. I guess some of you, if you're listening, will recognize yourself there. And at the same time, because I'm a really mind person, I have a lot of air, and it's so easy to go into the mind. So at the time, I really committed on intuitive work, bypassing the mind. And I was doing intuitive writing every day to what I really want, what was really calling me. I was meditating. I was making this amazing mood board without trying to reach any conclusion, but I simply connected images that attracted me without asking why. And that mood board was like kind of like the game changer. On the side of it, I had created a list of places that I liked. Biarritz, for example, Biarritz in the southwest of France was one of the place, and I went several times. I even found a job there that could support me during the transition. I knew a lot of people there. On paper, it looked perfect, you know. But every single time I was there, my body said no. My body was like, no, I quit the job. It was like a bit of a thing, but you know, I could not ignore that. Bali was also on my list, but I had lived far abroad and I didn't want to uproot myself that strongly, and I didn't want to go too far for my nervous system. I wanted something very easy, very simple, and if I needed to fall back to France, I could do that. I was really at a time where I could be more soft, I think. And yeah, so it became little by little about more listening to myself. So back to the mood board. After 2 months, I was just doing the mood board almost every day, putting one picture after another, and I had what I call this alchemical week. Every day, a synchronicity happened. An interview, the mood board, I'll tell you, the intuitive writing, the meditation. I was going breakthrough after breakthrough that week. And I started to speak also to women who were living in Mallorca. We were sharing the same life values. And every time we would speak, something inside of me was clicking. And one day I remember, because you know, it was their life. At no point I could think, oh, it can be mine. And I remember on that week, I was like, but that might be it. And I think it's on the Thursday, I opened the mood board and I had this huge realization, looking at the mood board. I think it was really funny because, anyway, I look at the mood board and I thought, this is it. This is Mallorca. And it's true that at the time I was talking with a lot of women living there. So I think it was just clicking in my psyche. Because looking back, the mood board looks like much more like Morocco than Mallorca. But for me, it was like, yeah, this was it. I knew my whole body. And the synchronicities kept on. During the meditation on the Saturday, I had a huge moment of clarity. I even went to that point, like on the Saturday, I was ready to pack my suitcase. Like I could have packed right now. On the Sunday, I had this fantastic appointment with a Jyotish astrologer. And the first thing, it was very early morning on Sunday. It was this alchemical week. And the first thing he said to me is like, you must, like sort of an injunction, you must leave Paris. And normally I really don't like it when someone tells me what I should do. But that time it was different. I had already been living with that question for so long. So I just smiled and replied, yes, I kind of know. And I'm already working on it. So he looked at my astrocartography, and I'm going to talk to you about that later, my lines. And I don't know if you know about that. It's very interesting. It's with your chart, and then it shows you on the world where you have the life that could support your any type of work, if it's love or business or, radiance, anything. And he mentioned places like Bali, New York, Peru. Everything was so far. And I was like, no, I really can't go far anymore. What about Mallorca? And he was like, he zoomed in. And he was like, that's perfect. And he told me that actually an island was really suiting for my chart. And that Mallorca was very supportive at the time. So he even suggested a period where it was better for me to move. So at that point, it felt like, a very big confirmation of what I felt in my body. And I knew deeply, like in my guts, in my core, that this was the right thing to do. I kept it to myself for months. It was still a seed. I had to stay private. It was my private garden before it could be exposed to anybody's, else's fears or opinion, projection. So I just built my business plan. It was very important for me to create a life that could hold me, and I needed also to support my nervous system because I was taking myself really far out of comfort zone. And before I could make this tangible, big transition. And that's when I did the leap. It was just before the second COVID, how do you call that? Okay, I can't find my word, but when the frontier closed again. And I remember having this huge freeze, and I had to call my mother and really ask her, please come with me, take the plane with me. Like, I can't do it. I could not even close my suitcase. I was totally frozen. I loved my flat in Paris, in Montmartre, even though I knew I was really done with that chapter of my life. And she kind of hesitated, and then she came to Paris, closed my suitcase. In the following early morning, the taxi picked us up, closed my door, never ever looked behind. Anyway, now the real journey began. So the first few months, it was very beautiful. Lots of discoveries, meeting new people. It's exciting, it was a very new chapter of my life. And at the beginning, I thought I was just there for 6 months, like step by step. And within like 3-4 months, I was like, this is my home. I feel so at home, even though I was starting to meet few challenges. But I was writing something really new and I loved it. So, of course, we never arrive somewhere without our luggages. And I'm talking about what we carry inside of us, our patterns, the wounds, our history, our conditioning, our karmas. And of course, we bring that all with us. And very quickly, in 2021, I entered my nodal return. It's kind of like an interesting part of life. I think it's around 36. And life starting to ask me to meet some part of myself that I hadn't fully met before. And within a few months, I went really deep. I went into sort of like a depressive state. It was really strong. I went through very strong karmas here on the island. It was very, very hard. So that first part of the year was actually more about dying and breaking down. It was really hard. And I had to go back to France. It was that bad that I had to leave the island and I had to go back to France. And I felt really sad. I thought, the mind is so strong. I thought, maybe it was not Mallorca. And actually I had to stay in France for 3 to 4 months, and it was very, very hard. And even if I looked for work in fashion at that time, I could not find anything, even though when I was here for 6 months, like everybody would call me, like all the dream houses I was dreaming to work for. And at that time, nobody was replying. And those 3 to 4 months I spent in France were very interesting. I went through very deep healing. And my belly, my guts was where they were calling for Mallorca. I was missing Mallorca in my body, in my soma. It's difficult to explain because it's not logical. But it was deep somatic knowing. And I think it was the other October I manifested this beautiful studio, this small flat I am now here in. And it was kind of magical because I had crafted months before this dream list that sounds totally not realizable, not realistic, not tangible. And actually it's manifested, it's here and it's around me, and it's a place that have been supporting me for almost 5 years now. So within a month, just moved back to Mallorca again, never looked behind. And I started my journey again here with cleaner roots. And what followed, and I'm not saying that would be the story of everybody, but followed kind of like another time of hermitage. And I needed to go through that. There's kind of like forced slow down, surrender, let go, to shed more layer than I ever imagined. And that experience truly transformed me. There were challenging times, but I felt so supported by this earth, by Mallorca. And it was a time in my life where I had to release so many identities that were not fitting me. I had to soften my grip and to stop forcing life. And I always felt held by Mallorca during that time. I never questioned, from there, I never questioned again, like whether it was the right place or not. And that was probably my biggest lesson this experience gave me, is that a place doesn't really heal you. I mean, it reveals you. And for me, Mallorca is very much, it's the goddess in all her facets, so it's also Kali. It's also Durga, it's also the mother. So it was definitely very healing journey, but more of a revealing, because from that time when I started surrendering into this last hermitage, it's where I met my friends. It's when my work started to take momentum. It's where synchronicities were really taking shape. So looking back, I don't think it's really the moving that is the transformation, but it's creating the condition where the transformation became possible. It gave me the opportunity to meet myself, to see what I was carrying, and to slowly build a life where a life that could actually truly hold me. And that's also how my work was born. When people ask me today whether they should move countries, I never tell them yes or no. I encourage them to experience the place with their body before making the decision. Go there, spend time there. Ask yourself, how does this feel in my body? Is there a contraction? Is there an expansion? Do I feel more myself? Because no one else can answer that question for you. We cannot even project it. We need to go several times to a place and be like, Okay, it has to be experiential. I've also learned that moving doesn't remove our patterns. You bring them with you, and sometimes a place calls you before there is something that you are ready to meet. Sometimes that place asks you to do this very specific piece of inner work before the next chapter can begin. And a supportive place can also make this healing softer, of course, and it was my case. I have accompanied several clients through these kinds of transition. Some were moving countries, others were changing careers or completely rebuilding their lives. On every story is different, but underneath, it's the same process. We meet the invisible layer that have been holding us back, and together we gently begin to dissolve them. And that is exactly why I created Essential Care or the Root Session, because when I was going through all this, I could not find the kind of support I needed. I was looking for someone to tell me. I wasn't looking for someone to tell me what decision to make, but I needed someone who could help me understand what was happening deep inside of me and support my nervous system while I was moving through this major leap of faith, this major transition. And it can sound scary and the nervous system will freeze, fight or flight. But I mean, behind this storm, behind the veil, the gifts are major. I would not go back for nothing in the world, you know? So yeah, anyhow, I moved through that, and today this is exactly the work that I offer. I look at the astrology, I use tapping, constellation work, sound, regulating the nervous system, all that to support transformation it's actually already in motion. It's actually already happening, and it just needs to be held, to be supported, to be accompanied. And if you're standing at the edge of a big transformation, my invitation is not really about where I should go, but is more about what do I want to build? And is this life that I want to build, how this life that I truly want to build can hold me? You know, because changing countries gives you the opportunity to meet yourself, and you don't have to go through this journey alone. So if you're listening to this and maybe you're dreaming about changing countries, my invitation is more for you to ask yourself what kind of life I'm trying to build. You know, because moving countries is not really the goal, but building a life that can truly hold you is the goal. Building a life that is aligned with your core values is the goal. And sometimes where, you know, if we have adapted so long to a life that is not ours, we no longer know what is our core values. And that is a very important work to do often, you know. So, yeah, as I said, that life that is on the other side of sometimes that life is on the other side of the world. Sometimes it's exactly where you are already. Only your own embodied experience can answer that to you. And yeah, if this episode resonated with you and if you're standing at the edge of this big transition, I would be honored to accompany you. This is exactly the work we do together, supporting your nervous system and understanding what this transition is asking of you, dissolving very gently the invisible layer that keep you from moving forward. You can work with me through Essential Care, my 6 months one-on-one container, through the Root Sessions, if you prefer to focus on one theme. You will find all the links below in the show notes. Don't forget to click on the free integration practice. It is there to help you embody what we've explored today. It's a mix of sound healing, tapping, and subconscious reprogramming. I have also had so many requests for more sound, and I promise that there is much more to come. So thank you so much for listening to The Invisible. Until next week, take really good care of yourself and keep building a life that can truly hold you.